Hello. Hi, Sitar. How are you?
Hi, Jenny. I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. Is the sun shining by you?
Yes, always.
Oh, I'm jealous. It is peeking through my blinds today with the snow, which it's kind of glaring off my glasses if I kind of lean to the right there, but I love seeing the sun. So I am talking to Setare Taabodi today, and she is a board certified family nurse practitioner and has lots of chronic illness journeys that she has gone through and is here today to tell her story. We met through a Facebook group through podcasting, and we spoke a while ago and I invited her onto the podcast to share her story with my audience. And she's got quite an incredible story. So I'm gonna let Setare take over and tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. So my journey has been kind of long, unfortunately.
Mm.
Next week I'll be 32 years old. So throughout my entire life, I knew that I wanted to be a healer. I thought that I either become a doctor. My parents really wanted me to become a doctor, but I really loved having more personal connection, spending more time with people. So when I was in high school, I knew that I wanted to be a nurse. So after I graduated, I went to the university and got my bachelor's degree. And right out of nursing school, I got a job in the intensive care unit. And it was like truly like a dream job. And it was fun. It was intense. It was stressful. It was very good for kind of like my adrenaline junkie personality. But about 6 months into my nursing career, I got a food poisoning incident. And ever since I got food poisoning, I just never felt that I recovered from it. And I was previously healthy otherwise, never had any health problems, never on medications, no broken bones, nothing. Very, very healthy my entire life. So, months and months go on after I got that food poisoning incident, and I just feel sick all the time. I'm weak, I'm fatigued, I'm dizzy, I'm losing weight. I'm bloated all the time. My digestion is horrible. And I just didn't really know what was happening to my body. And when I go to the doctors, I would tell them like, yeah, I just haven't really been the same after the food poisoning incident. They're like, oh, you know what? Like maybe, maybe it's just because you're a new nurse and it's a really stressful job and you're working night shift and, just kind of mansplaining things to me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And, I would, keep going back like every 2 months, be like, no, like something's wrong. Like I am losing weight for no reason. I'm always hungry. Like I feel like I can sleep 18 hours a day and I still felt exhausted all the time. And and eventually got to the point where my social life was suffering. I would go to work, my 3 shifts, my 12.5 hour shifts, and all my days off, I would sleep. I just could not function. And about a year after the food poisoning incident, I could not function anymore. I was bedbound. And it was not until this point that really my providers started listening to me. So their problem was I looked pretty healthy. You know what I mean? Like I was 22, 23 years old. There was nothing about me that looked like I was sick. And yeah, maybe I was a little on the skinny side, but it wasn't like anything alarming.
Yep.
So so I was bedbound. I was so weak. I was so weak that I couldn't swallow. Like it was so bad. I remember my mom would have to sleep next to me at night because I'd wake up in the middle of the night sometimes choking on my saliva. So it's like I had to lay on my side and prop pillows. It was just such a horrible, traumatizing time in my life. And so, of course, once I was at this point, I'm going to get all these tests done. I'm going to get MRIs to rule out multiple sclerosis. I'm going to gastroenterologist to rule out maybe celiac disease. I'm getting endoscopies, colonoscopies, blood tests, stool tests, a full workup. And unfortunately, most of my workup pretty much came back inconclusive. They really couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And I thought that I was going crazy. I thought, is this all in my head? Am I making this up? I'm 23 years old. How could I be this sick? And all my tests are negative. And, and all my training had been in conventional medicine. So, that's kind of all I knew. So I just could not make sense of what was happening to my body. But then a family friend recommended that I go see like a homeopathic or alternative medicine practitioner. And I was like very resistant at the beginning because, again, all my training had been in conventional medicine. And I was like, I'm not into that, you know?
Right.
But I was also very desperate, you know what I mean? So I went, and he did some pretty extensive lab testing, something called functional medicine lab testing. It's very detailed, and it kind of like, it's a lot more detailed than like conventional medicine labs. And he found that I had developed Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune thyroid condition. I had developed adrenal insufficiency at very low cortisol, which is why I was always so lightheaded and dizzy and I'd pass out. I had developed very severe digestive problems and malabsorption and intestinal infections and things like that. And this person, he had me radically change my diet and like just no processed foods, no gluten, things like that, which helped. And then he put me on lots of herbs, lots of supplements, lots of probiotics and things like that. And he also put me on medications. So he put me on steroids to help with my blood pressure. It helps elevate your blood pressure. And I was also put on tons of antibiotics for my gut infection. And some of that stuff worked and some of it didn't, unfortunately. But the good news was I was finally able to function. Like I was able to go back to work, but I still wasn't feeling great. And eventually, like over years and years of like continuing to struggle, but being able to function, I felt like I was barely able to function throughout my 20s. But I did it somehow. And, you know, I was able to go back to work and do all the things. And I would continue to do lots of research on my health and how to heal from all these autoimmune and digestive health problems that I developed, because you know, I'd gone to multiple alternative medicine practitioners. I had gone to conventional practitioners, and like none of it was really working. And the thing that was the most frustrating thing about this was, as an ICU nurse, every day I went to work and I witnessed miracles. There were people who were like, you know, were a pedestrian being hit by a car, broke every bone in their body, had a traumatic brain injury, liver lacerations, punctured lungs, broken ribs. And then after like 6 weeks in the ICU, they would heal. They'd be walking again. They'd be eating again. They'd be talking again. And I witnessed this stuff every day. And I'd say to myself, if this person can recover from that, then I can figure out how to recover from this. And I think the thing that was maybe a blessing for me, it's like being sick was unacceptable to me. I just would not take no for an answer. And I was very motivated to get well. And, you know, having seen people recover from these horrific accidents, these horrific things, I just knew that my body could heal, and I just had to figure out how. So after years of doing research, experimenting with different things, I realized that the way that I ate affected the way that I felt. It affected my symptoms a lot. So I kind of sit there and like, maybe, you know, I thought, you know, I kind of realized like food was going to heal me, but I just had to figure out what foods. So I experimented with different nutritional protocols. I experimented with like the paleo diet, the autoimmune diet, the GAPS diet, the vegan diet, the low FODMAPs diet. I just did every diet that existed. I tried it. But then in 2018, I discovered a low fat plant-based diet. And it, when it really came down, it really made sense, because basically it's like, you're telling me if I eat a bunch of fruits and vegetables, I can heal my body. Like we tell our kids every day, eat your fruits and vegetables. Like it's very simple. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'll try it. Like totally makes sense. And within 6 months, I was completely off of all my medications. Wow. And I just felt like I had found gold, like true gold. And it was the most like empowering I'd ever felt, because I'd gotten sick in 2012, and this was like 6 years later. It was 2018, and I just struggled and suffered for like 6 years. You know, I thought that I was going crazy. I thought that, you know, it was just something I was going to have to live with the rest of my life. I thought that I would never be able to have kids and just all these things. But it's like now I just feel so lucky and thankful, and it's been such a journey. So now, you know, after kind of struggling with chronic health issues, I was really passionate about helping people prevent and reverse chronic disease. And I thought that, you know, if I became a primary care provider, I can, help a lot of people manage, reverse, or chronic disease. I can offer nutrition advice. I can offer herbal medicines, botanical medicines, like, vitamin therapies and things like that. But during my residency, it became very clear that I would only have 10 or 15 minutes with each patient, and I would never be able to get to like what I really needed to do to help them. So in 2021, I worked through the intensive care unit all throughout my graduate school education. So I was a frontline ICU nurse. I was in graduate school full time. I was exhausted. And I just kind of quit everything. Once I graduated, I passed my boards, I quit my job in the ICU, and I just kind of like did a lot of self-reflection. Like, I was very traumatized from working frontline in the pandemic. I was really disillusioned with the healthcare system. And I just kind of realized, like, I don't want to work for this corrupt system. Like, it's always going to be profits over patients. We're never going to do what's best for the patient. It's all about insurance, reimbursement, and time. And I just didn't want to be limited by that, because I know that I can help people. I just knew it. I was like, I know that I can help people. So I eventually decided to start my own virtual health practice. And now I help women reverse their autoimmune conditions and digestive problems. And it's been the most like rewarding experience of my life. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been the best, and it's truly like my life's purpose. Yeah, so that's kind of my story.
I love it. I love it. It's super duper inspiring. I just, as you were kind of talking, I'm just trying to remember or think of a couple. You had mentioned that you tried all the diets, and I know that I've done some myself. How long do you suggest if somebody were to try a new diet before they give it up? I mean, obviously with anything, I think that like 60 to 90 day mark kind of marks maybe one thing. I know some people are like, well, I tried it for 2 weeks, but then in between that 2 weeks, they had a cookie, or, like I went on a gluten-free diet for a whole year. And I lost some weight, which was good. I mean, not bad weight. I mean, just back down to like a healthy weight. And I felt okay. I had a little bit more energy, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, okay, this is what I needed. But I gave it a whole year, and I really stuck to it. I mean, it's hard with the kids and stuff going, gluten-free. I mean, it's a whole different thing, because a lot of the stuff doesn't taste yummy, when trying to get your kids to eat stuff like that. So I'd be making all these different meals, throughout the course of the day. So what is your suggestion when somebody wants to try a new diet to see if their body, reacts in a different way? What would you suggest?
There are so many different diets, and, looking back, it's like, I would, find people, they say, oh, like the paleo diet really worked for me ever since I've been on the paleo diet, which is where you avoid grains, you avoid dairy and gluten. So you can eat meat, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, eggs. And that's like it's a pretty easy diet compared to like the more restrictive diets. And there are some people who do really well with that diet. And, but for me, unfortunately, I think because my toxic burden was really high and my digestion was horrible, like I needed to be a lot more aggressive. So I basically cut gluten, dairy, eggs, soy, anything processed. Like I would have smoothies and salads and roasted veggies, steamed veggies. Like I just did that consistently. And, I love those foods, so it wasn't a problem for me, but I had to be super aggressive in healing my chronic illness because I was so sick. So I think, I guess what I'm trying to say is some people need to be more aggressive than others. I just happen to be one of those people who need to be more aggressive. And like hearing your story of being gluten-free for a year, I wonder if you need to be more aggressive. You might need to remove dairy and eggs also to get better results. But yeah, I think, I'm a little bit biased because I think like, I just truly believe in the plant-based diet. And there's just so much evidence and support behind it. So I think if you were transitioning to a plant-based diet, I would give yourself a minimum of maybe 3 months, but give yourself a year. to really get results, especially it depends on so many factors, like how long you've been sick, how many medications you've been on, how out of balance your hormones are, how good or bad your digestion is. It's multifactorial. So there's not a black and white answer, but yeah, I think it's really, really depends, but I think a minimum of 3 months. Like I remember when I started the plant-based diet, I didn't really feel a difference until like 8 weeks in. So, and it's super easy to give it up, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm working so hard, I'm juicing, I'm making smoothies. It's like, it's just so much work. But it's like, if you're not getting results in the 2 weeks, you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go order a pizza. And I get that. I mean, healing is hard work. But for me, like, it was worth it to me because I didn't want to be sick anymore.
Right. Now, when you are helping your clients, how do you, like you had mentioned, like when you have to do, different labs to kind of see where the body, where like, the baseline of everything is. Do you order some lab work for your clients so you can, get them on the right path?
I do. So I order something called functional medicine lab testing, and I don't do it for all of my clients. Most of them have like, unfortunately, people who suffer from like chronic illness have had like blood work done every 3 months,
Yes,
And
you're right.
yeah, so most of my clients, I'll have them come with their most recent blood work, and then if there's anything missing that I think is really worthwhile, then I'll order it. But normally I can get enough information from that lab work and the symptoms that we don't need to do more labs. Most of my lab work that I do order is kind of just to do my due diligence. Like I have some clients that come with me with chronic diarrhea, and they haven't had any testing done. So I'm like, okay, like either we order testing now, or you go see a gastroenterologist, because I will not. I want to make sure it's not cancer. I want to make sure all these things before I treat you. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Right.
So yeah, but yeah, I do order functional medicine lab testing on my clients.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. When you mentioned like a plant-based diet, so does the word like organic really, like, are you taking like all organic? Like if you were to go to the store, the grocery store, and like you stay to the left for the organic stuff and stay to the right for the regular stuff, are you always going organic to make sure that you're getting the best product available? And what if somebody can't necessarily afford the organic?
Yeah, those are all really good questions. So I shop at Costco a lot. It's like my favorite thing to do. And they have very affordable organic produce in bulk. So I always opt for organic. If there's not an organic option, I will just buy it and just make sure to wash it really well. Because, the thing is, like, I always tell my clients, like, if there is an apple tree in your front yard and you saw someone spray with a bunch of chemicals, like, would you go eat that apple? And they're like, no, of course not. It's like, well, that's the difference between organic and non-organic. So,
Right.
and we're so far removed from our food sources that we don't realize, these have chemicals on them. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to put that in your body, especially when you're dealing with chronic illness. Like, you need to be so careful and so clean and so loving and so nourishing to your body in order for it to heal. But there is a website. It's by the environmental, I think, I forgot what it's called, it stands for, but it's the EPA, Environmental Protective Agency. And every year they put out like the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. So there are like there are 15 produce that they have found that year that use the least amount of pesticides, and that's okay to buy non-organic. And there's the dirty dozen. Those are the dozens of fruits and vegetables that are most pesticide laden that year. And maybe those ones are the ones that you should invest in organic. So it kind of depends. So yeah, if you're just kind of worried about it and you want to save a little money here and there, then look at that. Look at the EPA website. Like, for example, like avocados are one of those vegetables or fruits, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't need to be organic. Okay. Potatoes, apples, and celery definitely opt for organic. Berries opt for organic. Oranges, maybe those have a pretty thick peel. Those don't need to be organic. So there's ways around it. The other thing that I recommend is buying frozen fruits and vegetables. I make a lot of smoothies, so I can buy a big bag of strawberries for $10 and it'll last me 2 months for my smoothies,
And do you find you're still getting the I guess, the necessary amount of nutrients when the products are frozen?
Absolutely. So the nice thing about frozen produce, they're usually frozen at the peak of freshness. They actually are able to retain a lot of their nutrients even when they're frozen. So yeah, I think obviously opt for frozen over canned, because canned is, there's heavy metals in the cans. There's usually a lot of citric acids and preservatives in them. So avoid the cans, but frozen is great. I buy frozen fruits. I buy frozen broccoli, things like that all the time.
Okay, that's good to know. It's good to know. So now, when you say plant-based, and now this is just me kind of checking off the boxes. You don't eat any meat now?
I don't, but I don't think that everyone needs to avoid meat to get healthy. I think meat is not an inherently inflammatory food, but dairy, gluten, and eggs are. So I always tell my clients, like, if you want to have chicken breast every night for dinner and some steamed broccoli and a baked potato, do that. I'd rather you do that than eat scrambled eggs and a quesadilla kind of thing.
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. I know that. So now, you're off of all your off of all over the counter like medications?
Yeah, I haven't taken pharmaceuticals in almost 4 years.
Wow. That's
Yeah, and I was
incredible.
on thyroid medications and steroids and antibiotics, and yeah, it's just not good.
So how long would you say that it actually took you? You had mentioned it took you what, like almost like a full year to actually feel better?
It took me 6 months to get off my medications, and about, like, I would say maybe like 8 months in to like really feel like really, really good. And yeah, and I think, I hate saying that I'm 100% healed, because, whenever so if I'm overworked or like really tired, like I have like maybe some mild symptoms come back or something like that. But it's nothing debilitating and nothing that affects my life in any way. But like I'll sometimes notice like I eat very clean, but it's like if I eat some like fried foods or something, I go out to dinner, I'm out traveling, like yeah, I'll get a little bit bloated, but it's nothing how I used to be.
Actually, that's a good question. So if you go out to a restaurant, what is it that you would order for yourself?
I usually just try and pick the healthiest thing on the menu. And for me, it's like I'm at the point in my healing where I can be flexible. So, I was just in Paris last month and I ate baguettes every day.
Mm.
I ate like, you can't go to Paris and not enjoy the food and the culture. So, but when I'm at home, I eat super clean. So I think it's kind of finding that balance. And for me, it's like, if someone's going through their healing journey, I always tell them like the more strict and consistent you are, the sooner you will get results. And I was not perfect in my healing journey. I had cheat days and, I would occasionally have a glass of wine, but 90% of the time I was very clean and consistent. And do I think I could have healed faster if I was more strict? Yeah. Do I regret it? No.
Right. I know. I feel like sometimes, people say, oh, you have one life. I'm going to have the cookie. I'm going to have that glass of wine. And it's like, yeah, I get it. But you also want to live your longest life and your healthiest life so that you can actually enjoy it. I'm not much I'm not much of a drinker. I will maybe have a glass of wine or two, or for a special occasion or a holiday. So if somebody's used to having a couple glasses of wine a night, will that throw their body off into like a whole different, way of healing?
I think it's really important. Our liver is one of the most undervalued organs in our body. And the less burdens you can place on your liver, whether that be pharmaceuticals, processed foods, high fat diet, alcohol, anything like that, the sooner you'll heal and the easier it will be for your body to heal. So yeah, I think, there's plenty of ways you can do it, but if you want to get quicker, better, more lasting results, like the less alcohol you drink, the better. I mean, alcohol is a carcinogen. We all know this. Like alcohol causes liver cancer, increases your risk for breast cancer. Like this is all documented evidence. So
Yeah, there's just nothing good with it.
yeah.
Stay
So
away
you
if
just
you
have to
can.
do what's best for you. If you are interested in transitioning to a healthier diet and cutting back on your wine, I think that's a great idea. Do I think if you're a 2 glasses of wine a night kind of person and you want to embark on your healing journey, start with 1 glass a night and, wean yourself down and do what's best for you. But at the end of the day, it's like the more you love your body and cherish your body and honor your body and give it nourishing foods and avoid disease feeding foods, the faster you will heal, the better results you will get.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Another question maybe you can shed some light on, because I myself am taking, I shouldn't say a lot of supplements, but yeah, I've gone the route of doing, where you're taking so many supplements a day and you're trying to heal that way. But I think when it comes to supplements, if your body isn't absorbing them the right way, then you're literally just popping all of these and it's not doing anything for your body. Do you take any supplements on a daily basis?
Absolutely. And I think herbs and supplements were central to my healing. And, unfortunately, I think you have to remember, if you have digestive problems, you're not going to be absorbing as much nutrients from your food. So you do need to supplement with vitamins. And even if you don't have digestive problems, I think everyone on this planet should be taking vitamins because our soils are depleted. Our soils are not as nutrient dense as they were 100 years ago. There's so many chemicals and pesticides and fertilizers and all these horrible chemicals in our soils, and that prevents these optimal nutrients from going into our foods, and it makes it more difficult for us to be healthy. So I take vitamin C every day. I take about maybe 4,000 milligrams a day, which sounds like a lot, but I think it's just so incredibly important. And I eat probably 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, but I still take vitamin C. I also think zinc is a very important supplement. All the soils are deficient in zinc. We should all be taking a zinc supplement. This is vital to our immune system. It's excellent for hair, skin, and nails. I also take B12, vitamin B12. People say, if you're vegan, then you should take a B12 supplement. But again, B12 actually comes from microorganisms. It comes from bacteria. And when you ask a conventional provider, they'll say, B12 comes from animals. It comes from cows and chickens and, things like that. But in reality, the cows are the ones getting it from the grass that they eat, because the grass has that bacteria. But again, our soils, our fertilizers, our vegetables, our greens are not as nutrient dense as they were before. We put chemicals on all of our, our fruits and vegetables, and that kills those beneficial microorganisms that produce B12 in our bodies. So even if you do eat meat every day and things like that, you are still deficient in B12. And I think everyone should take that. It's vital to our nervous system. If people have chronic fatigue, numbness and tingling, digestive problems, you should 100% be taking a B12 supplement every day.
Do you find that the sublingual B12 supplements work better than the regular capsule form?
Absolutely. So there are different forms that you can take B12. The most common ones are oral forms, sublingual forms, and injections. I'm not a huge kind of proponent of taking the injections because, one, it's invasive, and it can cause you to develop kind of a hypersensitivity to the B12 injection if you're taking it regularly. So that's a little bit more dangerous, but sublingual is the best absorbed. And there's different types of B12. I can go into that at a different time, but the most absorbable forms in our bodies, the most absorbable form that our body actually is able to use is adenosylcobalamin and methylcobalamin. So you want to find one that has those 2 ingredients in it.
Is there any easier way to know that?
I'll recommend the brand that I use.
How about, you send it to me. I'll link it in the show notes so people don't have to stop recording and try to,
The brand that I use comes from a company called Vimergy, Vimergy. You can go on their website and order it there. But I'll send you the link as well.
Good. Perfect. Okay. So, all right. I don't think I have any more questions for you. So now one more question with kind of with you not eating meat. Do you find that you're lacking when you get regular lab work done on anything, or do you have to substitute any you know, like go into that a little bit.
Yeah, you know, you and my mom and everyone else in my life has like very similar concerns because, you know, we've been like growing up, we've been told that we need meat to be strong, we need meat to have protein and iron and all these things, when in reality, all plant foods have protein and iron and way more nutrients than meat does. So, yeah, I mean, my blood work is the best it's ever been. So
Well,
I
that's
don't
good
know.
to know. That's good to
Yeah.
know. My
Yeah. And, you
daughter,
know, I think unfortunately, you know, people like worry like, oh, like you're not getting enough nutrients and this and that. But it's like, you know, and fruits and vegetables are very nutrient dense. They're just not calorie dense. So you have to eat a lot. So I think people kind of forget, like, you know, my smoothies have a minimum of 2 bananas and like 4 cups of berries in them. And that's just breakfast. And that whole smoothie is probably a pitcher full, but it only has like 500 calories. You know what I mean? So it's like you do have to eat a lot when you are on a plant-based diet. But yeah, I don't feel malnourished by any means. If anything, I feel the most nourished.
wow. So now, okay, yes, into smoothies. Do you use like a protein powder? I mean, that's like huge. There's all these supplemental protein powders. Are there, I know we want to try and stay away from, you know, added sugars and dyes and, you know, all of that. Is there one that you found that you recommend for yourself? Or what is it that you use?
I personally don't use protein powders, but I think for my clients that are very like, you know, worried about not getting enough protein in their diets, I recommend hemp protein.
Okay.
The unfortunate thing about protein powders is they're usually like, they usually have tons of chemicals. Like you want to find a brand that has very little other additives and just has that protein in it. So hemp protein is really good. Or if you want to be even healthier, just grab a bag of hemp protein or hemp seeds and add that to your smoothies.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are into like the what are they? It's a chia seeds I see. Like do you add all of those? Do you eat a lot of nuts?
I do. I have nuts and seeds, and I make like tahini based salad dressings that I really love, and I love walnuts, and I eat tons of greens. Like I eat so much spinach, which is like packed with protein. So yeah, like my salads are like at least 6 cups of spinach, and that's just for me. And then I add all the other vegetables on top, and then I add a, you know, tahini based or avocado based dressing.
Wow, it sounds yummy. It sounds
Yeah.
really yummy. You get to try and be like a little gourmet chef as well, trying to kill
Yeah, it's
yourself,
fun.
you know? Yep.
Mhm.
I find that like I enjoy a good salad, but I have a hard time because of my gastroparesis in just digesting
Right.
you know, the leafy vegetables sometimes. And they tell me to make sure to everything that I kind of eat, like I shouldn't have raw vegetables. I shouldn't have like carrots or celery or peppers. And if I want to have them, I should have them on a soft, you know, eat them soft so that it's easier to go through your digestive system. Um, but then of course, you know, it's like, okay, well, I want some carrots. Do I really want to take the time and to boil the carrots for myself? It's just, it's time consuming, you know. And when you got the kids and you're running around, it's like, okay, I'm going to cut them vegetables up. I just eat them because it's like I still feel that eating them raw is better than me not eating them at all. But maybe my stomach is like, no, just stay away from them. So it's hard. So then I won't eat it. I have to start making myself some smoothies. And I heard that celery juice, like just straight on celery juice, is supposed to be amazing, to just detoxify your whole system and get all the nutrients.
Yeah, yeah. I've been drinking, so I drink celery juice every morning as well, and
Wow.
I'm almost 4 years in,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was central to healing my digestion.
Wow.
Um,
So literally
so,
just straight up celery stalks in a blender.
so you juice them. So you need a juicer. If you are going to make it in your blender, you should strain it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can provide you with some links of juicers I recommend if you'd like.
Sure. That's one appliance I don't have in my kitchen. I probably have
Okay.
every other appliance except a juicer. Now I'll have to go out and buy a juicer. Thanks.
It'll be worth
for my
it.
healing journey. Right. Yep. All right. That's awesome. So tell me, what are a couple favorite snacks that, like, quick to go snacks that you would do for yourself? You've got 10 minutes before you got to go pick the kids up or something. And you got to eat in the car. What are you grabbing?
Bananas, apples, dates. Very easy. I like, especially if I'm traveling or I'm at work, I'll just pack a couple of apples. Those are really easy to eat. If I'm not rushed, I'll slice them up and put in a little container, and that way I can just snack on them at my desk. But yeah, and the bananas are really easy to eat while you're driving, which is not very safe, but bananas and dates I really love because they're very calorie dense and nutrient dense. Because like a date is like 40 calories. So it's like if you don't have a lot of time to eat or you're just grab and go kind of thing, like dates are excellent because they're so nutrient dense. They are like high in potassium and yeah, they're excellent for digestion if you have digestive problems, and they have a lot of calories. So
All right. Good to know.
yeah.
There was something that I wanted to say along the side of that. Oh, a lot of people, like, the trend in the last couple of years has been an air fryer. Do you recommend, like, I feel like if you put vegetables or, fruits into the air fryer, you're kind of draining out nutrients. But like, I did it with strawberries when I first had it. I don't have my air fryer now. I actually got rid of it because I just wasn't getting the usage out of it. But like, people will air fry strawberries, but when they do that, turn them into like a fruit roll up, then it's got all the sugar that is from the fruit. So you probably wouldn't recommend people like air frying, I would imagine, their fruits and vegetables, or am I wrong?
Raw foods have the most nutrients in them. And I think for someone with digestive issues, they should focus on a high fruit diet because fruits are very easy to digest. If you are having, and like raw vegetables, like you mentioned, can be kind of hard on the digestive system, especially if you're super duper sensitive. So I recommend steaming them because steaming retains more nutrients than baking them or air frying them. Because what the air fryer does, it essentially just dehydrates the food and warms it up.
Okay.
But I do love the air fryer for people when they're making like roasted veggies or like chicken breast or something, or salmon or whatever, because it makes them use less oil. Because whenever you're sauteing vegetables on a pan, people dump tons of oil. And I think the great thing about the air fryer is that you don't need that much oil, so it makes your food inherently healthier.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
That's good to know. All right. So, all right. Well, I think we're good, and I'm going to wrap up. I do have just two questions that I'm going to ask all my guests. So, if you could choose a time frame to go back to, either in your childhood, your teens, college, even young adulthood, which time period would you pick and why?
That's such a good question because, like, I think probably for me would be like before I got sick, because that was such a traumatizing event for me. But
Yeah.
now that I'm kind of on the other side of it, and I feel like, I've kind of found more purpose from it, and now I get to kind of help other people overcome these traumatizing experiences of dealing with chronic illness. So that's a really difficult question. I don't know. And yeah,
Mhm.
maybe before I got sick, but my life is much richer now. So yeah.
And you've learned so much about yourself and your body. So yeah, I guess it kind of, balances out there.
Yeah.
And one more, what would you give to any advice with anybody who is struggling with chronic illness and just hasn't quite found anything that's worked for them yet? What advice would you give them?
So my biggest takeaway from like my healing journey and studying, nutrition and conventional medicine and all these different types of like natural medicines, I think my biggest takeaway is, we're told that when it comes to especially autoimmune illnesses, that your body is attacking itself.
Mhm.
And I think the biggest thing that I learned is that the body does not attack itself. It's just a theory in conventional medicine that has never been proven by science. And I think the unfortunate thing about autoimmune disease, it puts blame on the patient. It says, sorry, your body's attacking itself. There's nothing I can do. And that makes you feel scared and ashamed and angry at your body for attacking itself. When in reality, your body would never attack itself. Your body loves you. It would never do anything to harm you. And there's more and more evidence emerging, so often that autoimmune disease is actually caused by viruses and pathogens. Like just like a month ago, Harvard came out with an article that found that multiple sclerosis is caused or related to the Epstein-Barr virus. There's so much evidence to support that Hashimoto's thyroiditis is actually caused, again, by the Epstein-Barr virus. And that explains why people with these low-grade viral infections have symptoms of low-grade fevers, fatigue, inflammation, joint pain, and simply because it's a viral issue. So if there's anything I want to pass on to your listeners is your body is not attacking itself, your body is under attack. And that's why plant-based diets are so beneficial, because they're so, packed with nutrients and vitamins and antiviral properties, antibacterial properties that will help your body suppress the virus and kill it so that your symptoms will go away. So yeah, I think that's just something I'm so passionate about. I want to spread the word to everyone. Like, your body does not attack itself. It just, your body would never just attack your thyroid and not your elbow. Like, why would it attack your joints and not your ears? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. No, that's true, because I think that's almost the first thing you hear when you go see a specialist, or one of your providers is, well, your body is doing this and your body is doing that. And then all they do is send you from one specialist to another, and it's literally just one ginormous circle and trying to figure it out. I mean, it's very, very frustrating, and a lot of people, they give up on it, and then they give into it because they don't know what else to do, because they've tried everything else. Actually, I do have one more question for you. Besides just your diet, do you practice any other modality, like meditation or yoga? Do you have anything else that you practice?
Yeah. So ironic, I'm a very natural hippy dippy person, but I don't meditate. And I think it's simply because I put so much energy into other healing, like nutrition and exercise and yoga and things like that, that meditation just doesn't seem to be a priority for me, even though I know that it would benefit me. But yeah, I think movement is very important. And for me, exercise has kind of been a tough topic for me, because there were times where I couldn't walk. There were times where I couldn't exercise. So now that, my health is better, I've kind of gone back into gentle exercise daily. So I go on walks, I go on hikes, I do yoga. Before I was doing Pilates and power yoga and, intense exercise. I don't do those anymore. And I think, I think for me, just movement in general is really important. I think sauna therapy is really beneficial, like going to an infrared sauna. If you have access to that, you can go to a gym or a spa, they'll have that. I also think rebounding is very important. Rebounding is when you just jump on a mini trampoline. That is really, really good for your digestion, your skin health, exercise. It, has mild cardio. It's really easy on the knees, and it can help reduce swelling in the body. So if you're one of those people who just kind of retains a lot of water, has a lot of water weight, rebounding really helps with that.
I have never heard of that. And I have access to a mini trampoline, and now I'm going to go and put it in my living room and just start jumping around.
Do it, yep. Just put on your favorite song, jump for about 10 minutes, and just do it every day.
I want to do that exercise with the bungee jumping, and the women are bungee jumping, and they're like, wee, and then they're jumping all over the place. Oh my gosh, I want to do that so bad. I think that would be so much fun. But
we'll start with rebounding. Yeah.
I'm there. That's fun. I'll put on my spandex and sounds great. All right, well, I think we're going to wrap it up. I thank you so much for all your incredible info. And to the listeners, I'm going to put some little enjoyable recipes and sweet treats that Setare has so wonderfully put together for us. I will put those in the show notes, and also all of her links to be connected to her as well. So if you do want to reach out to her and you're interested in learning more about your body with Setare, you can go ahead and connect with her at any of her links. So I think that's good. Do you have anything else you would like to mention?
No, thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
Yeah, it was definitely. I'm gonna go get my trampoline and start jumping. My dogs will be like, no, they'll be barking at me. No, they won't want to do that. Thank you so much. I am so appreciative of your time, and we will talk soon then.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.